Welcome, one and all, to the Intellectual Freedom Podcast, where we explore ideas that challenge the status quo, expand your perspective, and empower your mind. I'm your host, Dr. David Hopkins, humanities professor, and I invite you on a journey of thought-provoking conversations as I step out of the college classroom to discuss, analyze, and critique all aspects of culture, society, and politics that impact your life today and have the potential to reshape your future. So welcome to a podcast that stands for the power of intellectual exploration. Welcome to the Intellectual Freedom Podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome back. I want you to picture something for me real quick. Imagine a beautiful tree-lined college campus. The ones with the large oak trees, smartly dressed students. They're walking and talking, book bags on their way to campus. It's peaceful. It's fall. The leaves are turning. It just smells of academia. It's the kind of scene all university brochures share with parents to convince them to part with $150,000 or so to get their 18-year-olds to buy to get 18-year-olds to buy a small mortgage in debt so that they can become appropriately educated over 4 years. Now let's enter stage right. An eager student, Stephen Smith. Young Stephen, he loved learning. He did well in high school. He was excellent in his SATs. He was a solid performer all around in the classroom. His life track really began to take shape when he fell in love with the works of a certain philosopher named Friedrich Nietzsche during a first-year Western civilization course in college. He wasn't necessarily expecting to fall in love with philosophy. He'd heard all the jokes about how the career path of a philosopher anywhere in the humanities, whatever, leads to being a Starbucks barista. So, anyway, he fell in love with philosophy. And driven by this passion, Stephen continued his academic journey. He went on to graduate school at the prestigious Stanford University, where he delved deeper into the world of ideas. After years of hard work and dedication, he proudly earned his Doctor of Philosophy. From Princeton is where he finished up. Super prestigious in the world of philosophy. The sky seemed to be the limit for young Dr. Stephen Smith, with the emphasis on Dr. Smith. With his newfound knowledge and a burning desire to contribute to the field, Stephen then, he took on a promising career. His dissertation, titled Hermeneutic Ontology Between Parmenides and Heidegger, was met with wild acclaim in the philosophical circles of academia, meaning, about 150 people or so. And he soon found himself on the tenure track, securing a place among the intellectual elite. The circle's small, but it's a circle full of quote-unquote elites. As the years passed, Dr. Smith continued to shine. His contributions to the philosophical community were very prolific. Publications gracing the pages of esteemed journals like the British Journal of Philosophy and Science and the Journal of Philosophical Logic. His ideas sparked lively debates among his colleagues, and he relished in the intellectual discourse. And did I mention that his CV was very impressive? Many budding young philosophy graduate students, they would love to have a CV like his. It was like almost 5 pages long, full of publications, etc., etc. Yet one fateful evening, imagine a cold winter night somewhere in the Northeast, in one of those elite college towns. It's cold, it's dark, it's snowing. There's a swanky dinner party going on of a group of philosophers that are gathered by the window, and picture on the outdoors a scene like Manhattan, people walking by on the streets while he and his colleagues are warm and comfy in their finely upholstered seats, probably sipping martinis as a debate raged about a provocative and controversial article making this, that, or the other claim about the genesis of Kant's concept of life or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Dr. Smith, in the middle of this, became distracted, and he gazed out the window at the bustling city full of real people dealing with real life. Then it struck him like a thunderbolt. The overly dramatic discussions of abstract theories from dead philosophers in cushy offices or expensive restaurants, and the never-ending debates over epistemological meta-narratives or whatever, finally made him stop and think, were they really making any difference in the world? Were these intellectual endeavors that he was doing over and over again impacting the lives of anyone, anywhere outside of that circle? Overwhelmed by the feeling that his life's work had become meaningless, a mere exercise in academic mental gymnastics, Dr. Smith excused himself from the abstract conversations about dead philosophers and writers and returned home that night. He was just grappling with despair. So he put a pistol in his mouth and killed himself. The end. Don't get too distraught for good old Dr. Stephen Smith, because he isn't real. There was never a philosopher by that name at Princeton University, or at least one I ever heard of. However, the story serves as a metaphor that is the crux of my talk and my time with you today. I believe far too many doctors of philosophy have committed relevancy suicide, not actual suicide, but professional suicide, because they spend their entire lives in abstract, obscure, and how do I say it kindly, irrelevant silliness that doesn't impact the real world in any way, shape, or form. How many philosophers in our highest levels of society could you name? 1, 2 maybe? For most people, they might remember a college professor if they were memorable or lucky enough to have a really good one, but most people probably can't think of one. And even if they had a good one in college, they probably don't have any contact or consume any of their work right now. Now, why would I create this rather morbid extended metaphor? Because, well, obviously, philosophers in our esteemed Ivy League, they very rarely would kill themselves. It's almost ridiculous. Life is very good for them. Life is easy for the most part. But they do far too often write about, talk about, attend lectures and conferences and write books about stuff that wouldn't impact anyone outside of their tiny sphere of influence. Not even one person most of the time. I find this a shame. I have nothing against these people. I actually admire many of them. I read a lot of them. These people are smart, very smart. They are articulate. They write well. And many can speak incredibly well. I know I had the privilege to study from many of them as I worked through my own graduate, postgraduate work in the humanities. And these philosophers, they have much to offer, but yet they don't engage with the general population. Thus, they are committing relevancy suicide. But I think they can resurrect themselves. I know they can. But right now I have a problem. I just have a big problem with the Doctor of Philosophy intellectual class. As the old saying goes, where much is given, much is expected. And in the face of very complex challenges that we have in our world today, the wisdom that our philosophers could shed on the dark path our society is on, they are needed. These highly intelligent individuals, they can, if only they would grab it, bridge the gap between abstract theory and real-world application. The actual value of that doctor of philosophy lies in its power to illuminate and guide, offer solutions and perspectives that can transform people's lives everywhere. One of my favorite philosophers of all time is Bertrand Russell. And in the middle of World War II, or shortly thereafter, I can't remember exactly as I'm speaking with you right now, he wrote in an essay, if you wish to become a philosopher, the first thing to realize is that most people go through life with a whole world of beliefs that have no sort of rational justification, and that one man's world of beliefs is apt to be incompatible with another man's, so that they cannot both be right. People's opinions are mainly designed to make them feel comfortable. Truth, for most people, is a secondary consideration, end quote. See, we need philosophers. We need them to help shed light in a much broader context than most people generally are going to think through in their modern life. And the net that our philosophers are casting is too small. We need them to help elevate discourse in society, not in their journals. We need them to help us think better, consider things more deeply, analyze thoughts and data and theories better. No offense, but those silly, obscure journals be damned. Philosophers need to reach the people. We need the people to be given insights and ideas bigger than the silly Washington Post, Reddit, Twitter, or CNN Online, or whatever. With all due respect to publishing in academic journals, to add a tick mark to the CV that nobody outside a minuscule little circle will ever care about, or just abstractions on dead philosophers. We don't need any more of that. There's too much of it. Doesn't mean we need to stop analyzing those things, but we need to think bigger, deeper, and broader. In a world that has AI bursting on the scenes, we have divisiveness everywhere in the country. We have confusion that was wrought by the COVID-19 pandemic. We have political extremism. We have misinformation and disinformation, global climate change debates, and war, and political propaganda campaigns that blatantly thumb their nose at truth, ethics, morality. Philosophers bring to the table a unique set of attributes that can help society dissect all of this stuff in a more enlightened way. So you may be thinking right now, I'm just crazy. I'm sort of being a bit overly optimistic of the skills of a PhD. Well, I do teach in higher education, of course, and I do have a PhD, but me, I'm not the type of PhD that has ever been in the ivory tower. I've been a soldier, a stock and bond trader for the past 11 years. I've been teaching in the state college system, in the community college systems. I'm not, nor will I ever be, an ivory tower elite. I don't have the skills for that, nor the disposition. Heck, those who know me know that I spend the first part of every day in a UPS warehouse as a part-time gig, working from around 4 a.m. to 9 a.m. So understand that as I do have disdain for what philosophers are doing, I know in many ways they bring intellectual skills to the table that few can fully grasp. If only they would just step up to the plate. See, here are the things that they do that we need them to go deeper in society. See, philosophers, they have critical thinking and problem-solving skills. At the heart of philosophy lies critical thinking. If you listen to this podcast at all, it's just one of my core topics, critical thinking. A skill that philosophers, they have to hone to a fine edge to make it. They use it every day. If they would use this skill to dissect complex issues in our culture, they would add a new perspective to the public sphere. Philosophers sift through the muck of conflicting narratives. They evaluate evidence rigorously, and most importantly, they formulate well-reasoned conclusions. In our headline-driven, quick-hit, low-attention span media consumption, philosophers could become a go-to resource in a world that is just besieged by an information overload, guiding us through the upheaval of disinformation and ensuring that our decisions are founded on solid ground of critical thinking. Another thing philosophers do is research and analysis. Philosophers are not mere purveyors of abstract ideas, although they go there far too often, but they're also skilled researchers and analysts. Armed with the tools of inquiry, they're experts in conducting rigorous research, collecting data, performing deep analysis. This capacity to dissect problems and to go into the depths of data enables them to contribute substantially across many fields, whether that might be deciphering implications of artificial intelligence or evaluating the ethical dimensions of medical advances or disease. Philosophers could clarify complex matters for tons of people. Another thing they do is effectively communicate. One of the hallmarks of philosophy is their proficiency in communication. Whether it's written or spoken, they can uniquely distill complex ideas into clear and understandable language. If philosophers would just drop the edge-speak, 3 and 4 syllable words like hermeneutics, intersubjectivity, or ontology, and speak like a regular human being from the planet Earth, sometimes they put on the air that they can't do it, but that's BS. Some like to play this air of, oh, I'm just so intellectual, I only know how to use really big words. That's a bunch of BS. If you are one of these philosophers listening now, you know you can drop the show and you can speak to the people in normal language. It'd be a great start if philosophers would worry more about being clear rather than trying to sound intellectual. Properly focused philosophers could demystify very intricate concepts, and they could disseminate critical information to the public. They could bridge the gap between the complex and the everyday. What a powerful thing. They also bring an interdisciplinary perspective. In many ways, this world, let's face it, it's gone off the deep end. The world's problems rarely adhere just to the confines of some single area. Politics and science, and propaganda and technology and social media. It's just all one big blender of concepts and ideas. People are just anxiety-riddled trying to make sense of it all. I know I get that way sometimes. Philosophers are adept at viewing issues through multiple lenses. This cross-disciplinary perspective, it just allows philosophers to tackle multifaceted societal problems from different angles. They're trained to do so. Thus, they can generate comprehensive solutions. For instance, they can consider the scientific data and ethical, social, economic dimensions in addressing climate change or AI or the heat and drama over COVID vaccines, to name just some of the areas. The other thing is data analysis and interpretation. And, those philosophers, they excel in data analysis in an era where data is a lifeblood of informed decision making. They have a knack for gathering, processing, interpreting vast sets of data and ideas and theories and philosophies. And that's a skill that's paramount importance in fields such as research and business and healthcare and policy making. Philosophers have this capacity to make decisions that are not just data-driven, but also wisdom-driven, that's grounded in ethical considerations and just a broader perspective. They can sift out insufficient data versus good data. Philosophers can contribute meaningfully to society by advancing knowledge, solving problems, fostering innovation, promoting informed decision-making. The doctor of philosophy doesn't need to be a joke or who a college student listens to because they're forced to do so in some gen ed requirement. And they definitely do not need to be relics of the past. Still, they can have a very powerful voice in guiding us through the darkness of this uncertainty and this misinformation that's swirling everywhere. In a world that's marked by upheaval and confusion, these philosophers, they could be a steady hand on the ship's rudder. They could help us steer towards a brighter and a more enlightened future. Instead of this hot mess of anger and resentment and binary echo chamber silliness we see in our politicians, social media, and society in general. So philosophers, they need to step up. Socrates was a soldier. Confucius was a public servant and government official. John Stuart Mill served as a member of parliament. The philosopher and economist, Amartya Sen, a Nobel laureate, has combined his academic pursuits with practical contributions to society. His work on welfare economics and social choice theory, has informed policies to reduce poverty and inequality. The list goes on and on across history. Yet our philosophers, mostly, not all of them, stay curled up in their ivory towers, focused on silly CV entries, journals that nobody reads, or maybe even cowering in fear. Many, it might be fear of being canceled by elite institutions that have far too often abandoned free speech. Maybe it's complacency. Or maybe, and I hope not, they've become entirely apathetic to free speech and critical thinking. Or maybe they're completely, they're demagogues themselves, spouting off the exact same extremist theories and unwilling and unable to see any alternate opinion. Gosh, I hope not. That truly would be the death of philosophy. It may be a feeling of just being uncomfortable to jump into the fray. Our social media culture is an ugly one in many ways. I totally get that. Yet, I wonder why so few get their voice out there, because we need them. Instead, they keep their heads down and live a life of relative ease in their tenured positions, making good money, letting their high-level skills rot. Yes, publishing in philosophy journals or other academic publications that touch nearly nobody but colleagues or other wannabe professors is letting your skills rot. There's so many options out there. Substack, YouTube, Discord, Rumble, X, or Twitter, or whatever you want to call it. Personal website, podcasting. They're all available to bring your talents to society, and they're basically free. Anybody can get their name out there. If only philosophers would reach out and grasp it. The key to getting our philosophers out there so people will pay attention is challenging. But philosophers need to change. Choose the media, choose the topic, then go. Yeah, you may never be Joe Rogan or Jordan Peterson garnering tens of millions of followers and downloads. But what if you could impact thousands? Heck, even hundreds of people with your analysis, with your wisdom, with your guidance, with your insights, with your help. Heck, it is somebody somewhere is out there, and it's a start. It's putting your skills to use beyond just the ivory tower. The key, and there is one key here, to make it work, be clear, not intellectual. Academia is just too enamored with intellectual complexity and comical verbosity that turns people off. Academic pursuits, they certainly have their place. We need them. We need textbooks. We need that stuff. But it's better to prioritize clarity and communication with the real world when speaking to the people. Do that. There's an audience out there. Philosophers reaching outside the walls of higher education need to seek clarity over this intellectualism. This change in perspective alone, this one thing, it's going to foster understanding. It's going to bring togetherness. It's going to bridge divides. And it's going to ensure that the knowledge that you possess as a philosopher is accessible to a much broader audience so they in turn can use it in their sphere of influence. And if you do that over and over and over again, now you're making a dent. Now you're making an impact. The hallmark of clear communication and being truly intellectual is the ability to convey ideas succinctly and comprehensively. You know this. Clear writing or speech, it just gets rid of ambiguity. It makes it easier for others to grasp intended messages. You get turned off by so many by the way that you speak, but you don't have to do that. If you would just turn that around, when you just think about this for just 1 second, all that jargon, all that overly complex language, all that intellectual discourse, it just alienates people. It kind of makes you, I hate to say it, a butt of far too many jokes. Creates this barrier for people to understand you and to engage with you. The efforts of any philosopher, if they don't get out of that little circle, that corrosive little circle, will be futile. If they don't change how to communicate and to match the environment. I mean, if you don't do that, the other option is relevancy suicide. Like our fictional philosopher, Stephen Smith. Philosophers, let me speak to you for just one moment. You're needed. You can bring great insight to the public sphere and discourse across many different areas. However, if you don't grasp that your significance is more remarkable than tenure, discussing dead philosophers in a journal, or building a well-polished CV, you will commit relevancy suicide. This decision would be a shame, as you have much to offer on a scale much grander than your college campus and writing some book or journal that nobody is ever going to read. Think bigger. Think more deeply. And for all your intellect, I think psychologically, too many of you are thinking far too small. Thank you for listening in today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode and leaves you with something you can take forward and utilize in your life, or maybe gives you a new perspective and understanding. You know, if every single day we just pick up a little bit of insight, knowledge, or spark of curiosity, then by the end of the year we'll be miles ahead of where we are right now. So I encourage you to continue nurturing your curiosity with an open mind and an open heart. If you found value in our discussions and want to stay connected, don't forget to hit the subscribe button wherever you listen to podcasts. By subscribing, you never miss an episode. Oh, and one more thing, consider subscribing to my newsletter. A link is provided in the show notes. I publish articles, discuss books I'm reading, provide curated content directly to your inbox, and it's always free 100% of the time. And just as I despise being spammed in my inbox, I promise I never sell your information and I won't abuse your time by sending you stuff constantly. So as we wrap up today's journey, remember that the pursuit of knowledge and understanding knows no bounds. Keep exploring, keep questioning, keep pushing the boundaries of your intellect. Together, we're creating a community that values ideas and fosters intellectual freedom. Until the next time, keep your mind open, your heart curious, and your spirit free. Thank you for being part of the Intellectual Freedom Podcast.